guys, and welcome to another episode of your Besthetician podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about something that we've been a little bit afraid to speak on because we know that everybody isn't on the same page about this topic, but we want to talk about our faith and how we believe that has transformed our business, and truly God has been there every step of the way throughout our business ventures.
Yeah, we've struggled because I think, for one, we never wanted to like push it down anybody's throat or feel like aggressive about it. But I also do think it's something that's kind of like a part of our story, our testimony as believers and followers of Jesus, but then also just as a business owner and how impactful it has been, especially during like the really difficult seasons.
Yeah.
And now us coming out on the other side and realizing how impactful it was in that, right?
Yeah.
And we've also, going back, I talk a lot about us talking to other estheticians because we just got back from a trip speaking to a lot of estheticians and realizing that as we were explaining the story, God was so intertwined in it.
Yeah.
And of course we feel that way at home. But we kind of wanted to, make this video a little bit about sharing our faith, how it's been involved in the business, and then even just a little bit about our story of why the faith was so important during those extremely difficult times. So I think we could start, right off the bat with like opening up the business. You good over there?
No, I'm good. I just
was like, you're thinking
just
about
start crying already.
But yeah, like when we first decided to open up the doors, there was no, there was no like major moment that was, like we were taking steps all along to always open up this business. So we were saving and planning. Really, kind of a really quick version of the story is that Victoria was working at a med spa. And it was like kind of the third one that she's worked at that she really tried to like dive into and give herself to. And we were realizing that every day she was coming home, you were unhappy. You were unhappy with mostly the employees there, that they were kind of, I don't know, as a man, I always say like they little broed you, but like they were like being like very managerial. And I think, it was a business that was more run corporate style. Yeah. So everyone was a manager and everyone was a boss.
Yeah.
And you don't really work. Now I think you do a lot better in those environments, but at the time, you're always just, you're a little bit timid. You're very shy. You're gentle. You're sweet. So when people kind of step up to you, you're more easy to kind of like, you don't like the controversy. You're not going to fight. You're not going to, make a stink just to make a stink. Right. Yeah. So you're pretty easygoing. And because of that, a lot of the women that were in these managerial positions kind of were taking advantage of you. They were kind of pushing you around, and we were realizing that every day you were coming home, you're like, this kind of sucks. Yeah. And it was at a place in the career that you were so passionate about what you did, but you're going to this business every day and going like, Chris, I am just extremely unhappy, right? I'm pushing products I don't want to push. They're really big on sales to you. They're trying to force, you got to get the sales up, And you're like, well, people don't need anything. Yeah. Why am I getting the sales up? And then they were trying to push you to cross-refer.
Susie doesn't need Alpharet.
Yeah, she needs
face reality.
Exactly. And then even cross-referring where they're like, hey, you need to mention Botox and filler to clients and, cross-refer them over to other people here. And you're like, no, that's not my job. Like, I'm not going to try to sell people on why they need Botox now. And so, you're becoming extremely unhappy. And it got to a point where I was going a little bit crazy and getting really frustrated with you, where I was like, quit then. You should quit then. And that was our only a source of income at the time. So you're like, Chris, you're being ridiculous. I can't just quit my job. And we decided that at the time, also, thank God that we were building our social media platform and you as a content creator, and brand deals started to kind of roll in. And there was enough brand deals and our cost of living was very low at the time that we were like, hey, we are making like $4,000 a month. You can quit and we could just live off brand deals. Yeah. And you were really hesitant about that. You're like, Chris, they're not guaranteed. This is what if this is just right now? Yeah. But I think, you could speak for yourself, but you got so frustrated in the business.
Absolutely.
At the spa.
So there's I wanted to go a little bit back because as you're talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much more than what you're saying. And it is part of the journey, but I just remember even when I first went to aesthetic school, I feel like God literally put that on my journey for I know he put that obviously in my journey for a reason, but the timing of me getting pregnant and then 3 months later I enrolled for school, and I'm not kidding you, I graduated 1 month before I gave birth to my son. And how it just felt so natural and God's plan for me was it wouldn't be any other way in that season of my life. And I graduated 1 month before and then got my license after, because I had to give birth to the baby. Yeah. And then just my whole journey throughout aesthetics, like each step of me working from my first job at Massage Envy, I definitely believe everything happens for a reason, because I was like, that made me realize I do not want to do spa facials. And at the time there was a little bit of like more medical treatments with PCA peels, but I just felt like I wasn't truly fulfilling my purpose, but I knew that God had a plan for it. Yep. And then we moved to Florida, and I could not land a job for the life of me. I don't know what it was, but Florida was just so different. And I'm like, why isn't even Massage Envy hiring me? Yeah. I worked there before and I didn't understand. And then we kind of gave up at that point of me finding a spa job, but then a receptionist job opened up at a med spa. And I had no idea that there was even a world of medical aesthetics, that you could be I know it's not an actual term, but a medical esthetician. Yeah. And just like the whole process of that situation of me starting as a receptionist and then me working, literally understanding and studying the ins and outs of these treatments that I had no idea about. And then me transitioning to a manager position within 3 months. And then shortly after, a position opens up for an esthetician at that same exact spa. So I definitely did the dirty work, working at the front desk, literally doing 5 different positions. But like even that journey of getting and discovering medical aesthetics, like I wouldn't have it any other way, because I know it's God's plan for me. And like me getting to a point where I found my passion, that was like all part of God's journey. And it all makes sense looking back. I mean, even to that point of me working at that specific med spa, I got fired from there, and not for like any specific reason. It was literally, I mean, the main reason was because I was posting on social media. We were doing high quality content, and they were intimidated that I was going to leave when we had no plan on doing that. We were so broke that I'm like, I just want to work for you and like get
we
clients.
Want a consistent paycheck is all we wanted.
Exactly. And then getting fired from there, I'm like, oh wow, like that was a toxic environment, and that was God's plan. Yeah. And then we ended up, I found another job in like the city over. They were like trying to come at me still. I'm like, guys, I'm like in the other city. And just like that journey itself gave me like a freedom. It gave me a taste, because they were so awesome. They gave me, they respected me. They gave me my hours that I wanted, and they brought on devices that I believed in. And I'm like, wow, this is like so nice, because I feel like I work for myself, but I don't, you know, I work for somebody else. And then that journey slowly came to an end, because we decided to move away from Florida because it was just too far away from family. And that's when I was like, let's choose Arizona, because it's close enough to California, but it's not in California where I don't want to pay their prices. I'm not a California girl anymore. And so we chose on Arizona. We literally visited Arizona. We did our research. I was Googling on YouTube the best cities in Arizona to live in that are like outside of Scottsdale. And like, I couldn't even land a job here either. I was like, are you kidding me? I have experience with hydrofacial skin pen, all these devices that are more advanced. And I'm like, what the heck? So we decided to get, I finally was like calling so many spas, because I'm like on Indeed, literally I got rejection after rejection after rejection. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, Chris, I don't know what we're going to do. We just moved here. I don't have a job. And then he was like, why don't you just call around? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, I need to just Google and find spas around me that I can call. And you're like, and the first spa that I called was the job that I actually ended up getting. And they were like, yeah, so we want to consider you, but you have to have your laser license. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I actually ended up going through like a few rounds there, and I was like, I'm so excited. I get to do lasers and get my license. So I ended up working there, and then also went to school while I worked there. And then this is the place that Chris was talking about. And it was just so crazy, because I'm like, I am so sick of this. I realized that no matter where I work, number one, I can't have my creative freedom of like our videos and us and me like being a provider. And number two, not to be mean, but med spas don't know how to treat acne. A lot of them don't. Like it was so frustrating that like you just had to sell. I felt like a robotic sales lady. And I was like, this is not God's purpose for me. I was like, I do not want to keep going down this path. And I just wanted to create such a change with my clients. And it was so scary, guys. It was the scariest thing ever, but I quit my job.
And then, kind of, like I said, we kind of stumbled into it. I mean, a lot of people, we've talked to so many estheticians that like, I always knew I'd be my own boss. And like, we always tell them like, we didn't. I mean, we were so happy with consistent paychecks. And our whole goal was to get, started a good med spa that understood what we could do. Our high quality content would let me come in and film, to get you booked. And just med spas were just, I mean, which is funny too, because like we have all these different color backdrops because we buy backdrops for the color of that spa. So they knew like, hey, we're fully getting on with your branding. Like we're not trying to take anything from you. Our bio is everything. Book appointments with me here at this spa. And just, it's difficult, and not all med spas are like that. And we've met a lot of business owners that are a lot better. But especially these kind of more corporate style med spas, they're just kind of like, we don't need you making content. Like we don't need you on Instagram. And we're like,
I'll pay myself.
And we're like, well, we're not booked. So what do you mean you don't need it? Because I don't have a lot of clients and I need more. And so, I mean, it all kind of lined up. Even growing on social media was never the plan with the original Skin by Victoria account, which is how we started. And we ended up growing that account to like 20,000 followers, and we're able to start getting brand deals. And that's what kind of put us in the position to go like, okay, like we don't have to work. Let's take a step back. We have consistent income coming from brand deals. And like I had a little bit of income from some side jobs I was doing for photo and video at the time. Like, let's leave that and figure out what we're going to do.
But
I know, keep going. If you want to jump in, you want to interject.
I just had like a flashback of literally every single time that Chris and I were like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know how we're going to pay the bills. An opportunity always came up with a brand deal. It was crazy. Like the timing of us stressing, literally doing shipped orders together as a family. And we're like, oh my gosh, like we have to make it work. And
I can't count how many times that on the 25th of the month when we did not have rent in the bank account, that's a door always opened where I would just get a call and be like, Victoria, someone just called and they said they want this video of this. And at the time I was doing some like odd and end jobs. You were doing like UGC content for other brands. And like somehow like the last week of the month, it was like, and we spent 6-8 months doing that where it was like a home run on the 28th of the month where I'm like, they're going to pay us $2,000. Like that's all we need. Now we can pay rent and all the utility bills on the first. And there was a couple of times that I went over it where we got the money on the third or the fourth and we never late fees. Fortunately, a lot of times that we had to split credit cards and put rent on a credit card when we first opened. There was times we have a credit card right now still that has rent on it from when we first got our first apartment. But so anyways, and that, you are right. Those are all things that going back, and at the moment we didn't always see them as it was God opening up a door and providing for us because we were so scared and drowning. But looking back at it, it was like, wow, God was just like, he was playing chess with us and he just kept moving the right pieces at the right time. All the way up to our friend, a close friend of mine being out here, who makes music, and I was doing some photos and videos for him and just hanging out. And you started pursuing, hey Chris, there's like small like salon suites, like maybe we can open up our own business. And we started kind of playing around with that idea of you actually opening up a practice. And you started searching salon suites. And then we were like, well, we're not going to do it unless it's the perfect opportunity. Cause you started finding some like you found some like ranky dank, places sometimes like this place is only $800 a month. And you're like, no, I can't ever bring clients there. That's weird. So and also, just to give a little, we had no clientele. Like we didn't work at the med spa long enough for you to pull a clientele over. And also we were always really afraid to do things like that. Because we just felt like it was just morally wrong to get a bunch of clients' names or emails or Instagrams to try to drag them over. And we're just not, I mean, sometimes I wish we were more assertive people, but like we're pretty timid on things like that. Especially because we felt like they were pretty good to you there. The spa, the med spa as a whole was good to you. It was just the systems and the inside and the management that we weren't happy with.
The owner is like, I love her still. Like, I mean, she's amazing. I have nothing bad to say about them. It was just the way that they just corporate's not my style.
Yep,
guys.
exactly. So you end up finding a salon suite, and we were immediately making every excuse in the world of why we couldn't afford it, why it didn't make sense. And at the time, there was no extra cash. There was no extra money coming from anywhere besides brand deals and some, odd and end jobs I had. And my friend of ours, while we were out here, we're kind of like throwing it around, like, that would be cool, huh? Like, imagine what we could do. And we went and toured the space, and, you felt pretty good about it. The space was beautiful. It's in a good location. But immediately we're like, well, now's not the right time because we don't have, I think rent was like $12 or $1,300 a month there. And we were barely making.
It was going to be like $1,800.
Oh, the first one that we found. Yeah. And we were barely making our personal rent.
I was like,
and at the time, our personal rent, I think was like $1,500 or $1,600 after all the fees. So I'm like, we're going to go in and get a spot that's the same price as our apartment.
Yeah.
And we can't afford our apartment. Right.
Yeah.
And so, a friend of ours was like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, just go for it. Like, you guys have made it all the way to this point in life, and we've had marriage issues and like all of our ups and downs, and we always fight and climb through everything.
Yeah.
And we're like, what makes us not be able to fight and climb through this situation right now? And I think that really sparked something in you, because I've always let you have the major decision on that. You're the one who's going to be doing the work. And I'm sure it sparked something in you where you started to go, I can do this.
Yeah.
Right. And our tag team together was, if you can treat the clients and you could build the business as far as what products need to get carried, what services we're going to have, I'll get the clients in the door.
Oh,
right?
and also I want to touch on that. Chris has background in owning a marketing company with one of his good friends at the time. And even that itself, that was like, that was God, like literally planting the seeds for our business. It's crazy to look back. I'm like, oh my gosh, the things that you developed your skills on with marketing literally molded us to be able to own our own business.
Yeah. And I worked for 6 months with him in that agency, making almost no money because we were building it from the ground up, and he brought me in on it. But how he even came into my life was like, he saw my Instagram and we didn't talk for years. And he was like, hey, you seem like you really know what you guys are doing on Instagram. Yeah. Do you guys want to build something together?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't know anything about marketing. And like, it's such a good part of the story, because I'm not I didn't have school. I'm not marketing trained. It was,
but you guys, he is a genius.
Genius is
literally Skin by You, like how it started. I give all credit to Chris. And of course, like, I'm the esthetician, but you just like led the way of us getting clients in. Or I was like, Chris, I trust you. We're going to make it happen. And the one thing that we ended up doing was when we toured, I'll go back to the salon suite. So we toured the salon suite, and then we said, no, we can't do that. Like, it's way too expensive. And then magically, this is so dirty and scammy of them. Yeah. But she's like, hey, I know this one's out of your price range, but one just opened up. And we were like,
and she was like, these never open up. The one that was open, she was like, this never happens. Which is a complete
lie, guys. If they say that, it's a lie, because I saw so many people leave their suites. And I was like,
this place is booked out. People, they have 3 years on their leases here. Nobody ever leaves. Yeah. But then magically, within the weekend, she calls you again, which it was like a car salesman thing where, like, when you say no, like, no, I'm good. Yeah. They're like, wait, we could do 43,000. Yeah, and that's what the situation was, which we didn't know, but I'm glad you told her. Yeah. You know what? It's just too expensive, and we can't take that risk. Yeah. And then because of that, and then that's when my friend was like, okay, guys, if you don't take this, you're being ridiculous.
And that's like, where Skin by You Suite 22 was born. And I go back to the one thing that we were like, why we said yes was because we had a month free in rent.
Yep. Yeah. That was what made or break the business.
We had 1 month to get it together.
That was our whole thing. It's like, okay, Victoria, we have 30 days where we're going to be okay. And we have essentially 25 days to book 5 days of clients to fill up the schedule. And we didn't have any big. Your sister ended up helping you invest in Skin Better, gave us a loan that we were paying. We paid her back month over month to get us started with Skin Better. And then everything else we credit carded all the way into filling up the business with the Amazon chair, and then doing a lot of grocery delivery was also helped us cash flow a lot of the business. Was me and Victoria taking 6 orders at a time, running around Target. All I gotta
say is, like, when you're opening up your business and you have literally nothing, you are going to be scrambling, scraping, literally everything. If you believe in your business and you want to make it work, it's going to suck in the beginning. Like, you are not going to just see other estheticians online and you're like, I can do that. And then you'll realize quickly how hard it is, and not to like scare anybody, but like, it is so hard to open up your business and keep going. And I just talked to another esthetician where she's like, don't give up. And I'm like, wow, like that is so simple, but it's so true. Like, do not give up in the beginning because that's the hardest. I mean, take out, if you don't have any support, literally take out like a loan if you truly believe in it. Now, if you feel like you're like on the fence about it, like your intuition's telling you maybe this isn't the right time, not to scare you, but I mean, if you know you have some years that you could probably build up yourself better as an esthetician, because at this point I had been an esthetician for 6-7 years and I felt ready. Like I'm like, I worked for other med spas. I have a mentor. I learned so much to like help build me as a provider. And I feel like I can successfully help clients now.
And I think a big thing, there's two things I want to touch on there. One, just to break the conversation for 2 seconds was, if you're curious about how we did things financially, we have an amazing video in the Patreon of like how we utilize debt and credit cards and loans to successfully get our practice to where we needed it to be and build a clientele. We have that in the Patreon. The link will be down below. We have that and tons of other videos, protocols, how we shoot and edit our content, how we grow our Instagram. Literally everything a part of the journey is in the Patreon. So if you'd like, check that out. It's only $65 a month. There's over 120 videos in there currently. So good luck trying to catch up on everything. But going back to opening up the business too, and I want to talk about, another aspect of faith at the time is that we also felt, we were meant for something, that God had a plan for us and we didn't know what it was and how exactly kind of like we pushed the kingdom cause and what things we could be doing to do better at that. And I think there was some guilt there. Like, what are we doing actually to further the kingdom? And, talking to some mentors, Christian mentors and friends of mine, made us both realize that, God's plan for us is to open up this business because of the way you can change people's life, because of your empathy and your care and love for human beings. And I saw that from you in the beginning, and I know you're passionate about people. And so I knew if I got people in the door, you could love on them the way they needed to. And there's been so many amazing situations since we started the business where, you've give people this outlet and this love and this care that they really needed, between women who have nobody to talk to and can lay in the bed and release all their stress and tell you their whole life story.
It is so special.
All the way to, exactly. And all the way to women who just need that relaxation and they have a lot going on at home and you don't poke them and prod them for anything, but they know that you're there and you care. And you're also transforming their skin at the same time, right? You want to jump in there?
I was just going to say like the unconditional love that you can give people. I've had people come into my treatment room where they're so stiff and they're not very friendly. And the power of just like love and like loving on somebody is just so special. I mean, I have literally developed relationships with my clients where they weren't in a good headspace and I've helped them regain their confidence back. And I mean, when you work for yourself, you're able to set the rules and you're able to bring the dream practice that you have in your brain to life. And it's just so beautiful. I mean, there's just been so many moments that I've had with my clients that I'm like, wow, this is my why. This is why I love what I do. And I mean, to be honest, you can do that when you work for somebody else, but it's very rare because you have to go by their books. It's like in and out on their schedule. And you get to like do it to an extent, I'm sure. Maybe some people have had better experiences than I have, but like owning my own business has like been life changing. So I just want to touch on that because I love being an esthetician and the relationships that I've been able to develop with my clients. And then I also, do you have anything else to say?
I agree. I just wanted to let people know like that's where we also see ourselves and especially the future of the business is being able to touch and connect with people. And now stepping into the aesthetic space now and having
doing
a voice. Now bringing to the same thing to estheticians of being this voice, this honest truth. We're a couple. We do this. We stay out of the BS. We stay out of rumors and drama. We really want to empower and help and connect the industry because we've met so many amazing women and us to continue to like give confidence to other estheticians, small and big. I mean, we just got to interview or have conversations and lunch with some of the biggest estheticians in the space and being somebody that could just pour into them that maybe they don't feel like they're getting poured into, especially from estheticians in this community, and us doing it together as a couple and side by side and just this joy and fun that we bring. And we're not chasing down money. We're not chasing down, I think people can see it and smell it. I'd hope so through us that they know that we're not just doing anything to get something. It's like, no, we do this just because we have a passion and we love people so much. And now even because of you, I get to connect with people.
And we don't shove things down people's throat because honestly, God has just provided. Like, it's crazy. I mean, we started our Patreon into a year and a half into Skin by You. And I'm not kidding. Like, we haven't even done insane. I've only promoted it through my stories, and we have over 1,000 members. Like, it's insane. And it's just been so organic, and everything has unfolded. We know that God has a plan. So like, even in hard times, we've always been like, okay, we're going to get through this together. It's going to be okay, because every single time that we are stressing, like, a door opens up. It's insane. And I think just like being mindful of those moments and being grateful, and maybe like you're going through a hard season right now, and it's like, well, I don't feel like God's, opening up that door for me. Just remember, God has a path for everybody. And it's not easy. I'm not saying that, like, because we were literally I remember finding out that I was pregnant within 3 months of opening up Skin by You. And I was like, okay, this is God's plan. Like, oh my gosh, I'm like freaking out because I'm growing 2 babies at the same time. And like, we were like, oh my gosh, we have to get people in the door, and we have to like, we have to just make sure that I can take off time, and I can, while I go to work, while I have the baby and maternity leave. And it's just crazy too, because during that time frame of like that 6-month period, we were like, wow, we cracked the code of how to get people in the door. Maybe it wasn't our dream clientele at the time, which we have figured that out like within the first year of our business. But we made so many mistakes in the beginning, and I felt like we finally got to a point where I'm like 6 months in, I'm like, okay, we got this.
We hit a
like
stride,
there's a steady income, and we're not drowning anymore because of all the things that we learned of how to successfully market our business. And people were actually coming in the door. I'm like, wow, somebody booked an appointment? Like, that's crazy. And then there was like a point where literally, because I had to give birth, like Skin by You could not stay afloat, because I had to be in the treatment room. Like that was, and so that's why I want to touch on that, because that's why we had to take out a personal loan. Like, Skin by You was not like thriving to its highest potential, but it was a successful business at like 6 months, I would say, which is crazy for just opening a business, which is why we teach everything in our Patreon.
Yeah, we were doing $10,000 a month, 6 months into business.
Which is insane.
And we had a lot of expenses, and we were dumping a lot back in, and we were really hoping that it was just going to continue to grow. And we also hit summer at the same time. So I don't mean to cut you off in the middle of the story, but
that was a good point. I appreciate that. And then like today, I want to talk about this story. So I gave birth to my daughter Adelina, and I remember just stressing. I'm like, oh my gosh, Skin by You was doing so good, and like, I physically can't work right now. We tried hiring on an employee, and that didn't work out, unfortunately, but I was literally like holding my baby, and I'm like, how am I going to support like our family right now? Like, how are we going to make it? And like, him going back to work was not an option. Like, I'm like, no, like, this is our business. And that's the choice we made as a family. And I'm like, we have gotten so far. I'm like holding our baby, and I'm like, what are we going to do? Like, I don't know how Skin by You is going to stay afloat. So that's when we decided to take out a personal loan. Literally just kept getting like denied after like everything. And then one loan company finally let us do it. And that was such a breath of fresh air. And I remember being in church and going to church on a Sunday. And I remember just like bawling my eyes out during that time, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the hardest season that one of the hardest seasons that I've ever been through in my life. And I was like, I just need to trust God. Like, God is like, I know you have a plan for this. And then today I had like a flashback of that exact same moment a year and a half, or almost 2 years. 2 years later now, because my daughter's almost 2. Wait, would that be one?
Yeah, it'd be almost 2,
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, look at us now. God provided. And it is so amazing to see our journey unfold. And it was not easy during that time. And like, going back now, I'm like, thank you so much, God, for putting us in a place now where we can take a deep breath and we can finally breathe. And not only am I helping my clients and loving on my clients, I'm now able to serve other estheticians, other professionals in the beauty industry, and just shed that light that I always wished that I had when I first started. I mean, I was so lost, and I talk to so many estheticians every single day now. It gets a little overwhelming sometimes because I'm only one person, but I mean, that just brings me fulfillment of being able to be that resource for other estheticians. part of my Patreon. And
going back to, sorry, just really quickly, I want to give like a little perspective on that story. Cause like I specifically remember like being in the hot house in June, you know, we had the AC real low because we didn't have a lot of extra money, and kind of like, you know, we had 1 month's rent paid and we're like, we just need one more brand deal. We just need one more brand deal. And it was like the first time we're like, okay, nothing is like lining up. And I remember us being really frustrated with each other, and you probably also extra emotional, just having a baby, a lot of hormones coming out at once. And not that I was always right about things, but I remember us kind of like butting heads of going like, what do we do? And you going like, well, should you go back to work? And I'm like, I don't know. Should I? Is this a bad idea? Are we then taking this plan that God had for us and all this path that he lined up and turning our back on him and going like, oh no, we don't trust you now. We trusted you when things were really good and we made $10,000 a month, but the 1 month we don't, you know, and people can take this however they want. We spent a lot of time in prayer and we know what our conversations was and how God led us. But I remember getting to a point, and I think somebody recommended to me a loan because our credit wasn't that good either. So I'm like, how are we even going to get a loan? But I remember applying and going like, hey, Victoria, this could be the solution. And you're right. There was like this kind of epiphany moment for both of us that were like, okay, there's an option here. Let's trust in this business again and believe in this business more than anything else. And one other thing that you didn't mention, a part of that story too, is your hustle, and that you've always been hustling. And we don't share this too often. We used to go back to California. We used to drive back to California from Arizona, and Victoria would do facials at my aunt's house for all friends and family. And that kind of happened really organically, where they were like begging you for your services all the time. And so we did it one time and we realized like, wow, we can make a lot of cash doing this. So when business got tough, we would drive back to California, bring all of our equipment, hydrofacial machine and all, set it up in my aunt's upstairs bedroom, and you would do hydrofacials on friends and family who booked a treatment. But back to that moment in the hot house and getting that personal loan, I'm like, okay, we have this personal loan, and something in you was like, you know what, this is it. This is everything we got. You know, I can't go back to work yet. I need a little bit more time off, and all of our clients were scheduled like the following month. And you're like, let's go back to California next week and make some cash. And it was like this moment of like, let's trust in this business. Let's believe in this business. It's everything we got. We have a personal loan, so rent was paid for, which is like, the personal loan wasn't huge, by the way, guys. I'm not talking about $20,000. Yeah, it was just enough to pay rent and the main bills.
We went on a date though.
Yeah, we did go. Yeah, we did sell a cheap date. But yeah, we the next week we packed everything in the car, and we drove down to California with our brand new baby.
That is a part of my journey that I feel like I should share more, because the most successful people are hustlers. Like they're going to do anything.
Do whatever
like
it takes.
They'll work 7 days a week. Like they'll literally go in, and I went in when like I had someone's like, hey, do you have anything for 2:00? I'm like, I think I can squeeze you in, when my day was like completely empty.
We're doing grocery deliveries.
But I'm like, okay, think outside of the box. How can we make money right now? I'm like, let's go to California. Drove to California, made cash, dumped it right back into the business, and kept on going.
We got back, and I think that was the pivotal, that moment right there, and we talk about it a lot. Our faith in God and our faith in the business changed our lives, because that month when you went back to work, we went and you mass texted a bunch of clients to get people in with a slight hydrofacial special to let people know you were going back to work. And that next month following, our business month over month has done better since that moment. And that moment was like, I think that moment right there was God showing us like, this is the make or break for your business.
I think he was testing us through that moment.
You guys gonna crumble?
Because he's like, well, I'm not going to provide this month. Figure it out. Like, are you going to trust me still?
Are you going to crumble? Or are you going to thrive?
Like, are you going to go back and like get a job?